On May 31st, a group of exhausted generals signed the paper that ended one of the most brutal conflicts of the 20th century. Exactly 8 years later, to the day, a second document unified 4 colonies into a single state and established the legal foundation for a century of systematic oppression. Welcome to this day that year, where we uncover what happened on this exact day. On this channel, we break down complex geopolitical events into simple 5-minute explainers. Understanding the link between these two dates is the only way to see how modern South Africa was built on a paradox. It was a nation born from a peace treaty that chose stability for the white minority at the cost of the majority's freedom. At the turn of the 20th century, the British Empire was the most powerful force on Earth, but its economic supremacy relied on a single requirement: a constant supply of gold to maintain the international gold standard. That gold was found here, in the Witwatersrand. The sheer industrial magnitude of these mining operations, seen in these massive tailing piles, transformed the region into the world's most valuable landscape. British imperialists, led by figures like Cecil Rhodes, moved to annex this territory to secure that gold. This drive for control made a collision with the independent Boer republics inevitable. This was a war of conquest. Britain committed its military might to a single goal: seizing direct control of the world's most valuable resource. When war broke out in 1899, the Boers utilized their superior mobility. These were non-traditional fighters, farmers on horseback, who used hit-and-run tactics to shred British supply lines and vanish into the veldt. The British arrived expecting a quick victory, but they found themselves bogged down. Their rigid, conventional tactics were useless against a mobile insurgency defending its own home terrain. A note of realization: conventional military superiority fails when the enemy refuses to stand still and fight on your terms. To end the deadlock, Lord Kitchener implemented a doctrine of total war. He abandoned standard field maneuvers for a strategy designed to destroy the enemy's ability to survive. First, he fenced in the landscape. By constructing 8,000 blockhouses connected by barbed wire, Kitchener mathematically sliced the republics into small, manageable sectors. Inside these fences, he launched a scorched earth policy. British columns burned tens of thousands of farms and slaughtered millions of livestock to ensure the Boer fighters had no way to resupply. The final stage was the clearance of the populace. Kitchener in turn displaced Boer and Black African civilians in concentration camps, where disease and starvation killed over 40,000 people. The British Empire secured its victory by systematically destroying the civilian society that supported the insurgency. By 1902, the devastation of the land and the suffering of their families finally broke the fighting resolve of the Boer commandos. On May 31, 1902, Boer leaders gathered here at Melrose House in Pretoria to sign the terms of their surrender. The Treaty of Vereeniging ended the Republic's independence. In exchange for surrendering to the British Crown, the Boers received millions in reconstruction aid and a British promise of future self-government. Britain won the war, but the cost was staggering. To stabilize the region and secure the gold mines, they were forced into political concessions that effectively empowered the very people they had just defeated. 8 years later, on May 31, 1910, that promise was fulfilled with the official birth of the Union of South Africa. This unification successfully reconciled the white British and Boer factions. Former enemies like Jan Smuts were brought into the center of a new centralized government. Britain got what it wanted: absolute control over the gold mines and the security of its global maritime trade routes. But this peace was a geopolitical trade-off. Britain secured its imperial economy by handing domestic political control back to the white minority. This war bankrupted Britain's treasury and shattered its moral standing. The global backlash against the concentration camps ended Britain's era of splendid isolation and forced it into the alliances that would define World War I. To appease the Boers and secure the peace, the British deliberately reneged on their promises to grant voting rights to the black majority. This disenfranchisement was a deliberate economic choice. The gold mines required a massive low-wage labor force, and denying political rights to the majority population guaranteed that labor supply. Unification in 1910 led directly to the 1913 Land Act, and the systemic stripping of black rights. The legal framework of apartheid was the direct result of this British-Boer compromise. May 31st is the dual marker of a brutal war's end and the birth of an oppressive modern power. The modern South African state was built on a foundation of massive wealth, secured through a peace treaty where the true cost was paid by the majority population who were never allowed at the negotiating table. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing for more 5-minute geopolitical explainers.